The province of Gauteng, it's noisy, it's impatient, it's certainly not rich in natural beauty. So how do you market the destination? We're going to put that question to an expert. Also, eNCA gets its very own cartoonist. The ad agency Draft FCB's success at the Lurian Penduring Awards. How a startup business selling kitchen utensils got maximum brand mileage out of social media. And the real state of newsrooms in South Africa. All ahead on this week's Mags on Media. First up this week, Jeremy Nell, also known as Jerm, is joining eNCA.com as our official cartoonist. He's been recognized as one of the top 200 young South Africans and also one of the top 40 under 40 media personalities during 2013. Jeremy, first of all, a very warm welcome to the family. It is good to talk to you. Let's start with this. I'm always fascinated how the idea comes to a cartoonist, particularly when you're working under considerable pressure. What's your secret to success?
There isn't one. Every single day is different. There's no pattern, there's no formula.
What are you looking out for every day? I would imagine that you scour the newspapers, you're watching television, you're listening to the radio. At some point, you say to yourself, there's the big idea.
Sometimes that happens, and a lot of times it grows. During the morning, I'll look for something that catches my interest perhaps, and then I'll maybe build it. It's very rare that there's just one big idea.
And the actual process of putting pen to paper, or whatever you guys do it these days, I presume you do it on the screen, the actual drawing of a cartoon, is it a long, laborious process, or can you knock that off fairly quickly?
It's a bit of both. The idea generally takes the longest, but drawing, I think, can take long. It can also be quite quick. It all depends on the idea. If it's a very simplistic idea, then it can be very quick.
All right, you've made a bit of a name for yourself. Your imbroglio with the New Age newspaper a while back. We won't necessarily need to talk about that. But how did you get into the business? What was your start?
Well, I was retrenched in 2005 from my corporate job, and it was literally an overnight decision. I'd always loved drawing cartoons, and I just decided, before I get too old, let me give this one shot.
Yeah. So you had a real job, now you don't have a real job anymore, do you? But it's a lot more fun.
Correct. Yes,
Let's talk a little bit about inspiration, if you can. On this program in the past, we've had great names like Zapiro, we've had the great Dov Fedler. They really set the bar very high in terms of cartooning in South Africa. Who do you admire? Where do you take your inspiration from?
Well, obviously Zapiro and Dov and probably most of the South African veteran cartoonists, but also a lot of my inspiration comes from cartoons that I watched as a kid, the Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck cartoons, Pink Panther, even Monty Python, actual comedians from the golden era.
Where's the line between satire, which is your principal job, I would imagine, and simply offending people? You've got to be aware of that all the time, haven't you?
Yeah, but that line is subjective. That line differs from person to person. There isn't a line that exists universally.
We have a rich tapestry of characters in South Africa, in the social space, the sporting space, goodness knows the political space. Do you have a favorite person that when you have to draw that person, it gives you joy? You're saying, I'm really into this on this particular day.
Probably the president.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm plagiarizing. He writes most of my material.
Yeah, I think that's what Peter Dirk Ace has told us before as well. Good luck. Welcome to the eNCA family.
Thank you.
And we certainly look forward to your work on eNCA.com. All right, let's move now from editorial cartooning to advertising news. And Engen Dynamic Diesel is running a campaign in shopping mall parkades. Large luminescent billboards are erected in the parkade, forcing mall goers to take notice before and after their shopping experience. Well, certainly is a noticeable idea. And Capitec Bank is targeting the student market through branded cars, urging them to ask why, all in an effort to explain more simple banking. Brand ambassadors drive the branded cars in and around selected universities, hoping to get young people to open an account. I'm sure you remember this story. The downhill skater Decio Lorenco caused something of a stir earlier this year when he set off a Cape Town speed camera skating down a steep pass. Now, Mercedes Benz has taken advantage of the young man's YouTube fame by producing a video for its local online portal, mblife.co.za. It invites him to take on the A45 AMG on the treacherous frontal pass.
Alright, so just hold, Jono, we're coming past you now, and traffic just hold until the expo and the Mercedes Park and the Polo.
So this is your timing, carving, look back, and then down, and then yeah, so it's not like that, but more of a kind of like down, and then okay. You can do it better. Sound and record.
Welcome to my world. We've had a similar case with the skaters on this road is guys hitting the chevron boards, fractured ribs, maybe a ligament or something like that that gets stitched. I mean, I stretched mine throwing the baboons yesterday, so I was going to edit that out.
We've cut it from here, going into trees, done. Your tracking shots with Dean is going to be insane.
I've been told not to use this on the outside of a car. Thing which that's what I'm talking about. Let me take this down. Right. That's not going anywhere.
It's left, it's right hand.
Like a 20 meter slide. How far are they? Let us know when you're coming down.
I need to know when they're...
I can't stay there and hover for it.
Mike is on the move.
We're on the move. I don't know. There's no way in calling it.
Yeah, Luke, it's gold, dude.
And it is that time of the year again when computer fanatics get together at the annual rAge Gaming Expo right here in Johannesburg. Now this year, there was a big focus on making the public aware of what local gaming developers have to offer. Improved access to the internet, faster data lines and ever-evolving technology has cemented the gaming industry as a multi-billion-dollar industry, creating employment for programmers, developers, voice artists and software companies. The United States and Japan have always been the leaders when it comes to the development of new computer games, but local production companies, it seems, are ready to enter the virtual playing field.
Our games are recognized at a global level. Several of South African games recently have been recognized internationally. We've won international awards. So we've definitely got the talent, we've got the skill. We're looking at trying to get funding for our designs because we have a lot of people who are entering the industry and they just don't have the capital to start a proper studio. So we're looking to try and change all of this to make it better so we can become hopefully one of the leading game developing countries in the world.
Independent amateur game designers and developers had the opportunity to exhibit their masterpieces to the public at this year's expo. Most of these locally developed games are available on the internet, often at no cost. Now, the idea really is to get as many people as possible to play it and provide feedback in order to eventually develop better quality products. It'll probably take a couple of years before we're able to compete with the big developers in overseas markets. But game design and development is gaining respect and is increasingly becoming a viable career choice.
If you look at the talent that South Africa has already shown in the different arts like film, like advertising, the creativity behind the talent, I'm sure that we have people that have the potential to create world-class products in the game industry.
Coming up on the program, the Draft FCB agency finds big success with its Fire Blanket campaign during the awards season. And we'll also talk about the growing importance of destination marketing.
News that moves. eNCA.com.